The next example, which is more complex, is San Francisco. So let me load that up. So we're going to look at landings now. Say the aircraft has, AI has as usual, would be landing 28 left and 28 right landings. To enter that into the program, I would just go to landings, tab 5. And before I start editing, I can see this old data is left over from my earlier Manassas edit, so I reset to clear all that out. Then I type KSFO 28 left and 28 right, and I can add that new. Now, if I were just to keep it at that, the two runways would be selected based on how close the AI approaching the area is to the entry fix. So if the AI is approaching from the south, it would tend to favor 28 left, and from the east and north, it would tend to favor 28 right. And that selection method works well for a lot of airports, but for airports like this one, that selection method is going to result in one runway being favored a lot over the other, much more than the other runway. Here, since 28 right is favored by aircraft approaching from the east and north, it would be more favored than 28 left. So there wouldn't be great balancing probably between 28 right and 28 left. So what I can do to change that is modify what I entered earlier, and just go to runway probabilities. I can do 50 probability runway 1 and 50% probability runway 2. It's just entered as an integer, like 50 is 50%. I'm saving modified data, so to save modified, I need to highlight it. That's what I want to modify, so save modified. And you can see the probabilities have been entered. So that's like a 50-50 load balancing. While we're at San Francisco, let's look at the taxi outs, the departures, forced takeoffs. So a very, very typical traffic flow pattern at San Francisco is the aircraft are landing on the runway 28 left and 28 right, and they're departing runway 1 left. So to do that, I go to forced takeoffs, go clear out this old scratch data here. KSFO, 1 way, 1 left. And I can add that new. Okay, so the AI will take off for 1 way, 1 left, but there's more to it. What I believe happens, smaller jets take off from 1 way left, but they redirect the heavies to 28 left to take off. I think it's 28 left and not 28 right, but let's just assume the heavies go to 28 left. So what I can do is, let's go ahead and modify that data. And I can enter 28 left, and I want the heavies to use that, so I go down and click heavy, and I only want the heavies to use that. So for runway 1, which is 1 left, it's every other aircraft, and save modified. Okay, so the heavies are going to taxi to 28 left and take off. All the remaining aircraft are going to taxi to 1 left. Now I could tweak this a little bit further, since 28 left is being used for heavy departures, which at San Francisco there's quite a bit of heavy international traffic. So I could bias 28 right to be used more for landings, and still use 28 left a bit for landings. So what I can do is go back to the forced landing section, tab 5, double click on San Francisco, and let's see, so I realized 28 left is going to be used for heavy departure, so maybe I could bump that down to a probability of 30, and then 28 right would be the favored runway. for most AI traffic. So that would be 70. So just save modified. So that results in sort of the real world pattern when you're using this airport of most jets are taking off from 1 left. The heavies are going out to 28 left. Since there's departures on 28 left, there's less landings on 28 left, but there's still quite a few. Most of the landings are on 28 right. Okay, so make sure to save the changes, apply all pending changes. Let's look at another airport, Boston. There's all sorts of strange traffic flows, I think, that happen at this airport. Real world traffic flows. So say I looked at the ATIS and this was a traffic flow in place. Departures were on 22 right. And say landings were on runway 22 left. And that's sort of strange because, normally landings would be on the shorter runway, but I'm pretty sure real world traffic flow at Boston is that the departures are on 22 right, except for heavies, which are given 22 left. And then say the landings were on 22 left, which is a little longer runway. So that's all a little bit unusual. Let's go ahead and set this up. Let's delete the prior scratch data. Boston. So the takeoff runway is 22 right, the shorter runway. That's sort of weird. And we're going to use heavies on 22 left. So we just go down, and for 22 left runway 2, we select heavy. Then our pattern of selecting the remaining engine types for the other runway, which is jet, turboprop, piston, and helo. Now I could leave it at that, but I'm going to push. Often aircraft will, when they're texting out to 22 right, they'll back up because they have to cross 15 right and 15 left, and there's delays introduced by getting runway crossing clearances from 15 right and 15 left. So what I'm going to do is shunt some of the normal jet traffic to 22 left. Not a lot of it, maybe about 30%. So for 22 left, I want 30%. And for 22 right, the primary departure runway, about 70%. If I do this, however, this is a little tricky. As I mentioned, the jet traffic, some of the jet traffic shunted to 22 left. So I want to deselect jet from runway restriction 1. That way there is no restriction on runway 1 or 2 for jet aircraft traffic. So the jets are free to either use 22 right or 22 left, according to this probability. So go ahead and save that. For landings, tab 5, it's pretty easy. We're just landing 22 left, which is a longer runway. That's a bit unusual. So reset the prior scratch data. Boston. Landing runway 22 left. Add. And then save all pending changes.